right into the core of, what really pushes your English skills forward. We've been digging deep, looking at tons of different sources and materials, and it's really become super clear that, when you're working on leveling up your English, there's one element that just kind of rises above all the rest.
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. And for those of you listening, actively working on your English, we've designed this whole deep dive to be that kind of aha moment, that click,
Yeah.
where it all kind of comes together. And, we're not going to be throwing, a million different strategies at you. Instead, we're going to be laser focused on the most impactful factor in this whole journey of yours towards fluency.
And this is where it gets, really interesting because, the secret sauce, the key to unlocking that significant progress is consistency.
You got it.
Now, you might be thinking, like, consistency, that sounds that sounds pretty straightforward.
Right.
And you know what? You're right. It is simple, but the power of it is just immense, and it's often overlooked. It's like this surprising but remarkably effective engine that drives language learning.
Yeah. And our goal in this deep dive is kind of twofold.
Mhm.
First, we want to explore why consistency is so important. Like, what are the underlying principles that make, regular effort just so much more effective than these sporadic bursts of, intense studying. And second, we're going to give you some really practical, real-world ways to make consistency just a natural part of your life.
Yeah, I love that. So let's dive into that why. Why consistency is the champion.
Yeah.
And all of our sources were so emphatic about this, starting with how it builds long-term memory. And I mean, this makes intuitive sense, right? The more you encounter something, the more it sticks.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's really cool is how consistent, even brief exposure to the language, it really leverages your brain's natural mechanisms for long-term retention.
Yeah.
Think about it. You can cram for an exam, right? You can memorize a whole bunch of stuff, but it often fades pretty quickly.
Right.
But consistent engagement, that's what helps the knowledge become deeply embedded. It's almost like, how you remember your native language, right? You don't have to put in constant effort to remember it.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's not just about passively taking in the information.
Right.
Regular practice really actively builds your confidence when you speak. There's this huge difference between understanding English and actually feeling comfortable speaking it on the fly, and that can feel like a massive hurdle for a lot of learners.
You're so right. It's a really great point. And the more consistently you practice speaking, the more it just becomes this automatic thing, right?
Yeah.
It goes from being this kind of deliberate, sometimes nerve-wracking task to, it becomes this more natural, comfortable way of expressing yourself.
Yeah.
And the steady practice, this is what helps to chip away at that fear of making mistakes. That fear that so many learners, they wrestle with.
And that's really where the long game comes in. And we're not talking about, instantaneously becoming fluent. The sources are very clear on this. Real fluency takes time. We're talking months. We're talking years even.
Yeah.
It's the compounding effect of those small, consistent actions that lead to huge fluency gains down the line.
That's it. Think about it like building any other skill,
Hmm.
right? Whether it's playing an instrument or learning a new sport, consistent practice, even if it's just a little bit every day, it compounds, it adds up over time, and then boom, you see amazing results.
Yeah. And a crucial point is that daily engagement with English, it really helps to kind of normalize making mistakes.
Yeah.
Because, that fear of getting things wrong can be so paralyzing, But when you're constantly using the language, those little errors, they just become part of the process, right? They become part of the learning journey.
Yeah.
Nothing to be ashamed of. And the sources are really clear about this. Progress may not always be, immediately apparent, but it's happening.
Right? It's happening under the surface. And that's a really vital shift in mindset. Instead of looking at mistakes as these failures, consistency allows you to reframe them, to see them as valuable feedback, as necessary steps on the path to getting better. It's all about embracing the journey, knowing that consistent effort, that's what gets you to fluency.
I love that. So we're crystal clear on the why, right? Consistency, why it's so important. Now let's get to the how. How do you actually weave English into your day-to-day life? And the sources had some really practical tips on this, on how to make English a consistent habit.
Yeah. And what's interesting here is that the emphasis is all about integrating English into your existing routine, right? Not trying to create this whole new overwhelming thing you have to do. The key is to find those small manageable chunks of time that you can realistically dedicate to English each day.
Right. It's not about, suddenly discovering 2 extra hours in your which good luck, right? But the sweet spot seems to be, those shorter, more frequent sessions. Even just 15, 20, 30 minutes
Yeah.
of focused time with English can make a huge difference. And think about it.
Yeah.
There are probably moments in your day that are kind of underutilized,
Mm.
little pockets of time.
Yeah, and the sources give some really great concrete examples. Like if you have a commute, listening to English podcasts or audiobooks, boom,
Yeah.
you've just turned that travel time into learning time,
Yeah.
right? And same with doing chores around the house.
Yeah.
You put on something in English, you're getting that passive exposure, but it's so valuable.
Totally, totally. And, lunch breaks? How often are we just like scrolling on our phones, right? What if instead of doing that, you watched a quick English language video or a TED Talk on something you're interested in?
Exactly.
It's a small change, but over time, that learning really adds up.
Yeah, and then there's incorporating English into your evening routine. Just reading a short article or a few pages of a book in English before bed. That can be a really relaxing and effective way to kind of wind down and engage with the language at the same time.
Oh, yeah. And we can't forget actively speaking.
Mhm.
Even just 5, 10 minutes of speaking practice, it can be talking to yourself, just about your day, or even connecting with, a language partner online.
Right.
All of those little things contribute. The main idea, the main principle from the sources is small actions, but done consistently.
Yeah, it's all about building momentum. When you start with those small, achievable steps, it makes it so much less intimidating. And it really increases the chances that you're going to stick with it, over the long haul. It's that consistent effort, that drip, 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 that eventually fills the reservoir of your English skill.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's so important to remember that everyone learns a bit differently. And that's where having a personalized plan comes in. And the sources really encourage you, the listener, to think about, your individual learning needs, what you like.
Yeah, totally. Because what motivates one person may not work for another. It's all about finding the approach that matches your interests, your learning style, and even just like how much time you have.
Right. And to help you with this whole personalization thing, the sources had some really great questions, for you to ask yourself, like, what English skills do you want to focus on improving right now? Is it speaking more fluently? Is it understanding what you hear better? Is it writing or maybe your grammar?
Yeah, great questions. And then thinking about, what kind of resources do you actually enjoy? Are you a bookworm? Are you, someone who loves movies and TV shows? Do you like podcasts? Or maybe you prefer, something more interactive, like a language learning app. Because when you leverage those natural inclinations, practice becomes so much more enjoyable. And as a result, you're more likely to keep doing it.
So true. And then finally, thinking about the practicalities of, your daily life, when can you actually realistically fit in some English practice? Is it first thing in the morning before things get crazy? Is it during your lunch break? In the evening after work or even on your commute? When you build a plan that really fits into your existing routine, consistency becomes so much easier.
Yeah, if we tie that back to our main point, having a personalized plan, it just reduces the friction. When you're choosing things you actually like to do and scheduling practice for a time that works,
Yeah.
you're setting yourself up for success.
Yeah.
You're making it more likely that you'll be consistent.
Definitely. Now, speaking of things that a lot of learners find, challenging, speaking English is often at the top of that list.
Yeah,
But the sources had some really good advice about how important it is to practice speaking every day,
right.
even if you don't have a native English speaker to practice with right there next to you.
Yeah. What's really cool here is the idea of actually using your speaking skills, even
Yeah.
when you're by yourself. It's about training your mouth, your mind, to get used to forming those words and sentences.
Exactly. I mean, I know talking to yourself might feel a little weird at first,
Right.
but describing your day, talking through your plans, even just narrating what's going on around you, it's all super valuable practice. It gets your vocal cords working, and it helps you think directly in English, without translating in your head.
Yeah. Yeah, and the suggestion to record yourself is a great one. It gives you this unique opportunity to really assess yourself. You can listen back and pinpoint areas you might want to work on, like your pronunciation or how you structure your sentences.
Oh, for sure. And of course, connecting with a speaking partner if you can, whether that's online or a friend, it's super beneficial.
Yeah.
But the main message, the takeaway here is you don't have to wait for that perfect speaking partner to start practicing.
Right. Get started today.
You can start today. And the sources really emphasize that consistent speaking, it just accelerates your progress, both in how confident you feel and your overall fluency.
It does. It's about actively putting those language skills to use, not just, learning them in the abstract.
Exactly. Yeah. And now let's talk about something that's, a little more internal thinking in English.
Sure.
And the sources were pretty clear on this. They explained why that constant back and forth translating between your native language and English, that can really slow down your progress in the long run.
Yeah, it's true. Because translating as this extra step is like this mental gymnastics routine.
Right.
But when you consciously train yourself to think in English, you streamline everything. Right?
Yeah.
You understand things better, you can respond faster, and it just feels more natural. English starts to feel less like this foreign code you're trying to crack and more like a part of you.
Yeah, yeah, and the tips they gave were so simple but effective. Things like, describing the things around you in English, or even just starting to make your to-do lists in English.
It's amazing how these small changes can make a big difference over time. Like even just writing your shopping list in English,
Yeah.
that forces you to use English vocabulary in a really practical way.
Right, right. And the idea of asking yourself questions throughout the day in English and then answering them in English,
Yeah, love
it's
them.
like you're having this inner dialogue
You are?
that just reinforces your ability to form thoughts in the language. And the sources really highlighted that this leads to a much more automatic understanding and use of English.
It's all about making that direct connection in your brain between, the idea and the English word for it. You cut out that middleman, the translation step.
I love that. And another super powerful way to boost your English without feeling like you're constantly studying is to surround yourself with the language. Really create that immersive environment.
Immersion is so effective because you're constantly exposed to English in so many different real-world situations. It's almost like you're absorbing it through your pores.
Yeah, totally. And the sources had a ton of examples of this, like watching English TV shows and movies,
Love it.
maybe starting with subtitles and then gradually trying to watch with fewer subtitles or even no subtitles.
Right.
Or listening to music, podcasts. Make that part of your daily routine.
Yeah. And it's not just about listening and watching. Reading books, blogs, articles in English
Right.
about things you're actually interested in that makes it so much more engaging.
Totally. And then there's writing in English, which is often overlooked, but it's so helpful.
It is.
Even if it's just, a short journal entry or a social media post or as we talked about, your to-do list.
Yeah. Yeah. All those little things help.
All those little writing activities really contribute to that immersive experience. And the main point here is that consistency, consistent immersion, it helps you learn almost subconsciously.
Exactly. You're making English this constant presence in your life.
Right.
So it becomes more and more familiar. It doesn't feel like this foreign language you have to struggle with.
I love that. Okay, last but not least, let's talk about staying motivated. Motivation can go up and down, It's not always going to be there.
It's true.
But the sources talked about how important it is to track your progress, to keep that motivation going strong.
Yeah. This is so crucial.
Yeah.
Because when you can actually see the progress you're making, it gives you a huge boost.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And it just encourages you to keep going.
Yeah. And the ways they recommend tracking are really easy to do, like using a habit tracker.
Yeah. Love those.
Just to mark off the days that you do some kind of English practice. It's so
Yeah,
visual.
it is. And keeping a journal, writing down new words and phrases that you're learning, that not only helps you remember them, but it also allows you to look back and see how much you've learned,
Yeah.
how much you've accomplished.
And if you're working on speaking, the idea of recording yourself periodically and then listening back to those recordings,
Oh.
that's a fantastic way to actually hear your improvement, because sometimes it's hard to notice those little changes day to day.
It's true. But when you have that objective proof, when you can hear how much better you're getting, that's incredibly motivating.
Yeah.
It shows you that your effort is paying off.
For sure. So bringing it all back together, the big takeaway, the central message from all of our sources is this. Getting really good at English, it isn't about chasing the newest learning hack or trying every new method out there. The key is consistency.
You nailed it. Consistent practice, even in small bits, speaking regularly, immersing yourself in the language,
Yeah.
and keeping track of how you're doing. Those are the pillars, the foundation of long-term success.
Absolutely. And we really want to encourage you, the listener, to take one small step today towards making consistency a part of your English journey. Commit to one tiny English related thing right now. Maybe listen to a short English news clip, write a couple of sentences about your day, or just practice describing something you see around you for a minute or two. Anything.
Right. Remember, the real impact, it doesn't come from how intensely you study in any one sitting. It comes from how often you engage with English over time. It's
Hmm.
about making it this consistent, enjoyable part of your life.
So true, so true. So here's a final thought to leave you with. What's one small, enjoyable way you can make English a regular part of your life starting right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. Think about that.
All right, until next time. See you then. Bye.
The Girl Who Spoke 7 Languages. Part 1. Maria was 8 years old when she said her first word in a language that wasn't her own. It was an accident. A tourist dropped his wallet outside her apartment building in Lisbon. She picked it up, ran after him, and without thinking, without even knowing why, she said,
Monsieur, vous avez oublié quelque chose.
The man stopped, turned around, stared at her. How does a child in Lisbon speak perfect French? He asked. Maria didn't know the answer. She went home, told her mother, and her mother laughed. You probably heard it from the TV, she said. But Maria knew it wasn't the TV. She had never studied French. Never had a French teacher. Never even been to France. Yet the words had come out, naturally. Perfectly. Like breathing. That night, lying in her small bed, Maria stared at the ceiling and whispered words in a language she didn't recognize. She was terrified. But more than terrified. She was curious. By the time Maria was 12, she spoke 4 languages fluently. Portuguese, French, Arabic, Mandarin. Her teachers didn't know what to do with her. Her classmates thought she was strange. Her father, who had left when she was 3, didn't know she existed anymore. The only person who believed in her was her grandmother, Avu Helena. Every Sunday, Avu Helena would sit with Maria at the kitchen table, pour 2 cups of strong coffee, and say, "The world gave you a gift, my love. The question is, what will you give back to the world?" Maria never had an answer. Until the day everything changed. She was 16 when she got the letter. A scholarship. A full scholarship to one of the most prestigious language schools in Europe, in Vienna, Austria. Maria held the letter with shaking hands. It was everything she had ever wanted. But Vienna meant leaving Lisbon. Leaving her mother, who worked 2 jobs. Leaving Avu Helena, who was getting older and slower every year. Leaving the only life she had ever known. Her mother cried when she read the letter. But they were not sad tears. Go, her mother whispered. Go and become everything I never could. The night before she left, Avu Helena pressed something cold into Maria's hand. A small silver ring. This belonged to your great-grandmother, she said. She also had a gift the world didn't understand. Promise me you will not hide yours. Maria promised. 3 days later, she boarded a plane for the first time in her life. She had no idea that in Vienna she would discover that her gift was not what she thought it was. End of Part 1. In Part 2, Maria arrives in Vienna and meets someone who knows things about her that no stranger should ever know. If this story moved you, subscribe to English Tales and Trails. Next episode drops soon. You won't want to miss what happens to Maria in Vienna.
You made it all the way, look at you, hanging through the chaos and the bloopers too. If you're grinning at the screen right now, guess I did my job somehow.
Okay, so you're listening because you really want to get better at speaking English,
Yeah.
right? More fluent, more confident.
For sure.
You're probably putting in a lot of work.
Yeah.
Maybe you're practicing conversations, you're studying grammar rules.
Yeah, all that good stuff.
But what if I told you that there's like this surprisingly powerful tool that's often just like right there under our noses,
Interesting.
and it can really be a game changer for how well you speak English?
I like where this is going.
Yeah. So today we're taking a deep dive into how reading can transform your spoken English.
I love this topic.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
Because when we think about improving our speaking, like our minds automatically go to, well,
Speaking?
yes, speaking more, right? Practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
But today we're actually exploring this really insightful article called How Reading Can Transform Your English Speaking Skills.
I'm excited to dig into this.
Yeah, and our goal is to really unlock these like core ideas that are in this piece and show you not just that reading helps your speaking, but like precisely how it does so you can really use it to your advantage.
Okay, so let's start with something pretty fundamental.
Yeah.
Vocabulary.
Love
I mean,
it.
we've all been there, right?
Right.
You're in the middle of a conversation and the perfect word is just like,
Oh, it's on the tip of your tongue.
yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, so frustrating.
And this article, it talks about how reading can help you expand your vocabulary.
It really does.
But it's not just about like memorizing word lists. It's
Mhm.
about how you encounter those words.
Absolutely.
Let's have all the difference.
It's about context.
Yes.
So, like, think about it this way. You're reading, it's like planting these new words in the rich soil of context, right?
Okay.
And it helps them grow in your understanding instead of them just like wilting on a vocabulary list.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
That's really helpful.
So you see these words, they're working in sentences, they're interacting with other words,
Right.
and that gives you these real clues about what they mean and how to actually use them yourself.
Yeah, it's not just about seeing the definition.
Mhm.
It's about seeing the word in action in its natural habitat.
Exactly.
And then there's the power of repetition, too.
Yeah, repetition is key.
It's not like you just see a new word once and then hope for the best.
Right.
You keep reading and you're going to encounter that word again and again
Again and again.
in different situations.
Different contexts,
Yeah.
different sentences.
And that's what really helps it stick in your memory.
That's the key.
And what about all those like everyday idioms and expressions that native speakers use all the time?
Oh, yeah, the ones that make you sound really fluent.
Yes. Where you could find those being used naturally.
I know, right? In the things we read.
Exactly. In books and articles.
Yep.
And the article gives us this really actionable tip.
Oh, I love those.
Yeah, keep a vocabulary journal.
Oh, that's a good word.
So passive reading is great, but when you actually write down those new words
Yeah,
and then try to use them in a sentence
that's the key.
that's relevant to your own life, that's when the learning really clicks.
It becomes real then.
It moves the word from something you recognize to something you can actually use.
I love it.
Okay, so we're building our vocabulary.
Check.
Now let's move beyond just individual words to how we string them together.
Ooh, sentence structure.
Exactly.
Grammar.
The article makes a really compelling case that reading is like a fantastic way to improve those things.
It really is.
And the best part is that it often happens subconsciously.
Yeah, you're not even trying.
Right.
And it's working.
So how does that work?
Well, what's fascinating is how our brains are just naturally attuned to patterns. When you read regularly, your brain starts to absorb these common ways that English sentences are constructed.
Like word order and all that.
Exactly. Like the typical word order and the grammar rules almost without you even realizing it.
Wow.
Because you're seeing how native English speakers naturally put their thoughts together in writing.
Right.
And that understanding, it just starts to seep in.
It's like you're developing an ear for the language.
Totally.
Yeah, like an internal sense of what flows naturally.
You just start to know when something sounds right.
Or wrong.
Exactly.
And as the article points out, this leads to a huge boost in speaking confidence.
I can see that.
Because when you have a more intuitive grasp of sentence structure, you're less likely to hesitate.
Right.
You're not so worried about making those grammatical errors.
You're just more comfortable.
Yeah.
And you know what the article suggests?
What's that?
Read aloud.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you read aloud, you're not just seeing the words,
Yeah.
you're physically engaging with the rhythm and the flow of the sentences.
Oh, I see.
You're actually practicing forming those sentences yourself.
With your mouth.
Yeah, getting your mouth and your tongue used to the movements.
That's so smart.
It's like a workout for your mouth.
Okay, so we're building our vocabulary.
Uh-huh.
We're getting a better feel for sentence structure.
Yeah.
Now, here's something that feels like a real breakthrough.
Okay, lay it on me.
The idea that reading can actually help you think in English.
Oh, this is huge.
For many learners, that's like the ultimate goal.
It is. It's like the Holy Grail.
Right, because you know that habit of mentally translating from your first language to English before you speak.
Translating in your head.
It can be a real roadblock to fluency.
Such a roadblock.
It takes time. It can lead to sentences that sound a little unnatural.
Yeah, not quite.
And what regular reading does is it provides that constant immersion in authentic English.
Yeah, you're surrounded by it.
Right, so it trains your brain to process language directly in English.
You're not going through that extra step of translation.
It's like creating a more direct line in your brain.
A shortcut.
Yes. The more you read in English, the more your brain starts to bypass that need to translate every thought.
Your brain gets used to working with English directly.
And the payoff is quicker responses in conversations.
So yeah, for sure.
You don't have that mental delay
Right.
while you're translating back and forth.
Gone.
And it's not just about understanding individual words. It's about grasping those concepts.
The bigger picture.
Yeah.
The ideas.
And forming your thoughts directly in English.
Thinking in English.
Your mind becomes accustomed to the English way of phrasing things.
The natural way of expressing yourself.
And that naturally influences how you then construct your own sentences when you speak.
It all flows together.
So the article's tip of summarizing what you've read in English without translating,
That's a good one.
that really forces you to engage with the material on its own terms.
Right.
And it strengthens that direct processing.
You're working those English muscles.
Okay, so now this next point might be a pleasant surprise for some of us.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Reading can actually contribute to better pronunciation
Really?
and even your accent.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
Right. You might think those are purely in the realm of listening and speaking practice.
Yeah, you'd think so.
But the article draws this really interesting connection.
How so?
Well, it talks about how seeing words repeatedly
Okay.
helps to solidify their correct pronunciation in your mind.
Like you're training your brain to recognize the patterns.
Exactly. The more you visually encounter a word, the more your brain reinforces the sound associated with those letters.
It's like building a mental sound bank.
And when you read dialogue, especially in fiction or plays,
Oh, yeah.
you're exposed to the natural rise and fall of spoken English.
The music of the language.
Yeah, the intonation patterns that convey meaning and emotion.
That's so important for sounding natural.
And you're seeing how conversations unfold on the page.
Right.
Even things like punctuation can give you subtle cues
Oh, interesting.
about pauses and emphasis.
So it's like a hidden guide to how to speak.
Yeah, and the article also stresses that practicing aloud, actually reading those conversations or poems out loud, is a fantastic way to physically train your mouth and tongue
Makes sense.
to produce English sounds accurately.
It's like going to the gym for your pronunciation.
Plus, it builds that crucial confidence in speaking
Yes.
by getting you more comfortable with the act of actually vocalizing English.
The more you do it, the easier it gets.
And the suggestion to record yourself reading
Ooh, that's a good one.
and then compare it to recordings of native speakers.
So you can hear the difference.
Yes. It can really open your ears to areas where your pronunciation or intonation might differ from what you're aiming for.
That's really helpful feedback.
So you can focus your practice more effectively.
Love it.
Okay, so we're on board with the power of reading.
Totally.
But the article also gives us some direction on what kinds of reading material are most beneficial for boosting our speaking fluency.
Okay, so it's not just about grabbing any English book.
Right. It's not just about grabbing the first English text you see.
So what should we be reading?
Well, different types of reading material offer different advantages.
Okay.
So novels and fiction, for instance.
I love a good novel.
They're usually packed with natural-sounding conversations,
Right.
everyday sentence
They
structures.
know what we want.
So it gives you a great feel for how people actually talk in real life.
It's like eavesdropping on authentic conversations.
Then you have newspapers and articles.
Okay.
They tend to use more formal language,
Right.
which can be useful in certain speaking situations.
Oh, for sure.
And they also introduce you to current vocabulary.
Keeping up with the times.
Yeah, related to real-world events.
That's important.
And I thought the point about scripts and plays was particularly insightful.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about that.
Obviously, they're written to be spoken.
Makes sense.
So they're a fantastic resource for practicing conversational English
Okay.
and getting a sense of different speaking styles and tones.
Like you're absorbing different voices.
Yeah, and then you've got self-help and motivational books,
Mm.
which often explore complex ideas.
Okay.
And they can introduce you to more sophisticated vocabulary and ways of expressing yourself.
Expanding your horizons.
And we can't overlook comic books, and graphic novels.
And those are fun.
The article makes a good point that they can be less intimidating.
Right.
They often use simpler language that mirrors everyday spoken English.
And the pictures help.
Yes. The visual element can really aid comprehension.
Makes it more enjoyable.
It's a more accessible and enjoyable way to engage with the language.
I like it.
And the article's recommendation to choose books that also have audiobook versions is brilliant.
Well, that's a great tip.
Because listening while you read reinforces pronunciation and natural speech patterns simultaneously.
You're getting double the benefit.
So we know what to read,
Yep.
but actually making it a consistent habit.
That's the key.
That's where the real magic happens.
Consistency is king.
The article shares some really practical tips on how to integrate reading into your daily routine.
I'm all ears.
So consistency, as with any language learning activity, is key.
Couldn't agree more.
The article emphasizes the benefit of reading every day,
Even if it's just a little bit.
even if it's just for a short period,
Right.
and finding subjects that genuinely interest you.
Oh, yeah, that's crucial.
That's crucial for staying motivated.
If you're bored, you're not going to stick with it.
Exactly. And making reading something you look forward to rather than a chore.
It should be a pleasure, not a punishment.
And setting achievable reading goals
Oh, that's a good idea.
can give you a sense of progress and structure.
Like you're actually accomplishing something.
And I appreciate the suggestion of using reading apps.
Yeah, those are so convenient.
They make it so easy to access English reading material no matter where you are.
On the go.
And joining a reading club is a fantastic idea.
Oh, I love that idea.
It's not only deepening your understanding of what you've read through discussion,
Right, you get to talk about it
but also getting valuable speaking practice
with other people
in a supportive environment.
where it's safe to make mistakes.
And the read and speak method.
Oh, fill me in.
The article highlights this method where you read a passage
Okay,
and then you try to explain it in your own words.
I like it.
It's a surprisingly simple yet incredibly effective way to actively engage with the material and practice your speaking skills at the same time.
You're putting it all together.
Okay, so now finally the article delves into specific techniques
Okay, let's hear them.
that you can use to actively bridge that gap between reading and speaking more fluently.
Because it's not enough to just passively absorb the words.
Right, you need to actively work with them.
Make them your own.
So shadow reading,
Okay.
which involves listening to an audiobook and trying to repeat what the speaker is saying at the same time.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's a really powerful technique for honing your pronunciation,
Yeah.
your intonation, the natural rhythm of spoken English,
You're mimicking a native speaker.
and summarizing out loud after you've finished reading
Okay.
helps you practice expressing ideas concisely and recalling key information,
You're putting it into your own words.
and then rewriting dialogues from something you've read in your own words,
Oh, that's interesting.
and even acting them out.
Fun.
It takes it a step further
Right.
and gets you actively using the language in a spoken context.
You're bringing the words to life.
And of course, discussing what you've read with others,
Yeah.
whether it's a language partner, a tutor, even a friend who's also learning English.
Right.
It's invaluable for solidifying your understanding and getting comfortable sharing your thoughts and opinions in English.
It's all about practice.
And I really liked the article's challenge.
Oh, tell me.
Pick a story you've read and try retelling it,
Okay.
consciously focusing on using new vocabulary and expressions you've encountered.
That's a great way to put it all together.
It's a fantastic way to put your reading directly into practical speaking use.
I love it.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into how reading can transform your spoken English,
Yeah.
the core insight from this article is really clear.
What's the takeaway?
Reading isn't just a passive way to learn.
It's active.
It's an incredibly potent and often underestimated tool for significantly improving your ability to speak English fluently and with confidence.
Powerful stuff.
We've explored how it naturally expands your vocabulary,
Uh-huh.
how it helps you internalize correct grammar and sentence structure,
It's like osmosis.
how it trains your brain to start thinking directly in English,
Yeah.
and even how it strengthens your pronunciation and intonation.
Yeah. It's a complete package.
And the article leaves us with this really thought-provoking question.
Okay, hit me.
What's the last thing you read in English?
That's a good one.
It's a great way to make you think about your current reading habits
Right. Am I reading enough?
and consider how you might incorporate the strategies we've discussed today
All these great tips.
to really unlock your full potential as an English speaker.
It's all about taking action.
Exactly.
So get out there and read
And speak.
and watch your English skills soar.
I love it.
Happy reading, everyone.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
See you next time.
Bye.
Okay, so let's be honest. Remembering new words, new vocabulary words, I mean, it can be like a real struggle sometimes, right? It's like you learn it and then it just poof, disappears.
Yeah, it's like you're trying to hold on to sand.
Exactly. But what if I told you there are, smarter ways to learn vocabulary, ways that actually stick? Today, we're diving into this article, and it's called Unlock Your Vocabulary: Smart Strategies to Remember New Words Effortlessly. It sounds pretty promising, right?
It does. I'm really curious what they have to suggest.
Me too. Our mission, if you will, today is to kind of pull out some of those really actionable strategies from this article, the kind that you can just start using today. You know, no more staring blankly at flashcards and hoping for a miracle.
Yeah, flashcards definitely get a bad rep.
They do, they do. So the article makes this really interesting point right off the bat. It's not just about memorizing, brute force memorization. It's about understanding.
Hmm.
And I thought that was fascinating. What do you think about that? Like, why is understanding so important for memory?
Well, if you think about it, how our brains actually work. We're not just like, empty containers just waiting to be filled with facts and figures. We learn by making connections. So, when you really understand a word,
Hmm.
like its nuances, how it relates to other words, it actually becomes part of this like massive web of knowledge in your brain.
Yeah, it's like the difference between cramming for a test versus actually like getting a concept, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the article gives some really good examples of how to achieve that kind of deeper understanding. Like one thing they suggest is, looking up example sentences online. They mention these websites like Youglish and Linwy.
Oh, yeah, those are great.
Yeah. And it's so helpful because, you see the word being used naturally in all these different contexts, and it just kind of clicks.
Right, it's not just a dictionary definition.
Exactly. Another thing that I find helpful is to, just even look up the etymology of a word. Like, for example, if we break down the word incomprehensible.
Right.
So it's in meaning not, com meaning together, prehens meaning to grasp, and then abable meaning able.
Right.
So suddenly incomprehensible isn't just this big, long, scary word. It's something that you can actually, ironically, grasp.
That's such a perfect example.
Yeah.
I love that. The article also talks about using visualization and creating mini stories to remember words.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about those techniques?
Yeah, those are great. They really tap into the power of, imagery and narrative. Like, remember how we talked about linking the word serene with the image of a peaceful beach?
Yes.
You can make that image even stronger, like even more vivid if you imagine like the sound of the waves, the feel of the warm sand on your skin. It becomes this whole multi-sensory experience.
Oh, yeah, like a mini vacation for your brain.
Exactly, exactly. The article actually gives this example of associating the word ephemeral with the image of a firefly, because it's that kind of fleeting moment of beauty.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah, it's so true. So the more vivid the image or the story that you can create, the more likely you are to actually remember that word. But all these tips are great, but I think sometimes, and I'm curious if you've experienced this too, sometimes I remember a word's definition, but then when I actually try to use it in a sentence, I just completely freeze up.
Oh, yeah, all the time. I mean, it's
Right.
one thing to, recognize a word when you see it, but it's a whole other level to actually make it part of your, like, actively used vocabulary. And that's where that whole idea of use it or lose it really comes into play.
Right. And the article talks about that a lot, doesn't it? Like the sooner you actually use a new word, the better.
Yeah, definitely. And they give some, some pretty practical suggestions for how to do that. Like writing sentences with the new word is a good starting point. Even just saying it out loud a few times can make a big difference.
Yeah, I find that's true for me too. I think I'm kind of like a kinesthetic learner or an auditory learner. So just saying it out loud really helps. It's funny. I've always found that when I have to teach something, it actually helps me solidify it in my own mind. Like, it's like I have to understand it on a deeper level so that I can explain it to someone else. Do you think that applies to vocabulary too?
Oh, absolutely. Actually, the article even mentions that because teaching, like, it forces you to think really critically about the word's meaning, like all its nuances. You can't just rely on a memorized definition, right? You have to be able to explain it in your own words, and that just solidifies the understanding so much more.
Yeah, that's so cool. So basically, if I want to really master a new word, I should like try to teach it to someone, even if it's just my cat.
Exactly. I mean, it's the act of explaining it, of finding the right words to make someone else understand. That's what really matters.
I love that. So, okay, we've talked about understanding the word, actively using it, even this like unexpected power of teaching.
Oh, and don't forget flashcards.
Oh, yeah, flashcards. How could we forget those?
Yeah.
They kind of get a bad rap, for being boring. But the article actually gives some really cool tips for making them more effective.
Yeah, it's not about abandoning flashcards altogether. It's more about just using them in a more strategic way. And one thing the article mentions is incorporating visual elements. So instead of just writing, melancholy equals sad, you could include like a picture of a rainy day or a wilting flower.
Yeah, that's so much more engaging than just a dry definition.
Yeah.
And it really helps to kind of make that connection in your brain.
Exactly. And the article also highlights the power of spaced repetition.
Oh, yeah. Can you explain that a little bit for our listeners who might not be familiar with that term?
Yeah, so spaced repetition is basically based on this idea that we naturally forget information over time.
Right.
But if we review that information at, increasingly spaced intervals, we can combat that forgetting curve and actually move that information into long-term memory.
Okay.
And there are all these apps now that do this for you.
Well, that's amazing.
Like Anki and Quizlet, yeah.
So it's like having a personal vocabulary trainer in your pocket.
Exactly, yeah.
That's amazing. Okay, I'm sold. Flashcards 2.0. Here I come. But before we get too carried away with spaced repetition, I do want to kind of jump back to something that you mentioned earlier, which is creating those strong associations to help words stick. And the article had some really fascinating insights on that. What really stood out to you from that section?
Well, I thought it was interesting that they really focused on, tapping into multiple senses and emotions. Like we talked about the beach scene, but you can take it even a step further by like incorporating sounds, smells, even like physical sensations.
Oh, now I'm really craving that beach vacation.
Yeah.
But I get it. The more senses that you engage, the richer that association becomes, right?
Exactly.
And the stronger the memory.
Exactly. And personal experiences are huge too. Like if you can connect a new word to a really strong memory or feeling, it's much more likely to stick. So for example, like think about the word jubilant, right? Instead of just trying to memorize the definition, think about a time when you felt that pure joy. Maybe it was graduating from college, landing your dream job, even just that first sip of coffee in the morning.
Those are really good examples.
We know.
Yeah, it's like building this bridge between the new word and something that already has meaning to you.
Exactly. And, don't forget about rhymes and songs. I know it might sound silly, but our brains love patterns and repetition. So if you're really struggling to remember a word, try coming up with a little rhyme. It doesn't have to be Shakespearean. It just has to be memorable.
Okay, I'm ready to, write a vocabulary rap song.
Exactly.
Seriously, though, I could see how that would be helpful. It's like creating a little earworm for your brain.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And, speaking of making it fun and engaging, the article also mentions, acting out words.
Oh, tell me more. I love this idea. It's like you embody the word.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I bet this is especially helpful for people who are like kinesthetic learners.
Oh, absolutely.
People who learn best through movement.
Right. If you're trying to remember the word exuberant, like jump up and down, wave your arms, let out a whoop of joy.
Exactly.
Your body remembers too.
Exactly.
I am so doing this. This is like taking vocabulary learning to a whole new level. It's not just about reading and memorizing anymore. It's about experiencing the words.
Exactly. It's about engaging your whole self in that learning process.
Yes. This is making me think about all the different ways that we can just immerse ourselves in language in general. The article talks about reading more, listening to podcasts, even watching movies with subtitles.
Yeah, all of those are fantastic for passively absorbing new vocabulary.
Yeah, it's like osmosis for the brain.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's amazing how much we can learn without even really realizing it.
For sure.
And also love the idea of keeping a vocabulary journal, just jotting down any new words that you come across that kind of catch your eye.
Yeah, that's a great way to personalize the learning experience. It's like you're creating your own custom dictionary.
I love that. Okay, speaking of personalized learning, let's talk about gamification. The article has some really cool suggestions for how to make vocabulary learning feel more like a game. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think games are so effective because they tap into our natural desire for competition, for achievement, for rewards. So why not kind of harness that power for good and use it for vocabulary expansion? Right?
Absolutely. I'm all about that. So what kind of games are we talking about here?
Well, there are the classics, right? Like crossword puzzles, Scrabble, even Wordle. All of those are great for, testing your knowledge and expanding your mental lexicon.
Oh, Wordle, my nemesis. But seriously, it's amazing how just a simple word game can make you feel like a vocabulary genius, or at least it exposes the areas where you need to, work on.
For sure. And it's not just about like passive word recognition, right? You're actively searching for words, you're considering different letter
Like
combinations.
a workout for your brain.
Exactly.
The article also talks about setting up friendly competitions with friends. I love this idea. It's like you add this social element to the learning process, which I think could be really motivating.
Definitely. It's about creating a fun, supportive environment where you can like challenge each other and celebrate each other's successes.
I'm already thinking about who I can challenge. This could get interesting.
Oh, yeah.
But, as we're kind of wrapping up this first part of our deep dive, I'm really struck by the fact that vocabulary expansion doesn't have to be a chore. It really can be effortless, or at least it can feel that way, with the right strategies.
I totally agree with that. It's all about finding the techniques that really resonate with you and incorporating them into your daily life. It's about making vocabulary learning a habit, not a burden.
Exactly. And remember, it's not about memorizing the entire dictionary overnight.
Right.
It's about making small, consistent efforts that are really going to add up over time.
Yeah, it's like building a house brick by brick. Each new word you learn is another brick in your foundation of knowledge. But before we get too philosophical, I think it's time to take a quick break, and we'll come back to discuss why all this effort is actually worth it. Sounds great. Yeah, I think that's a great place to pause. We've given our listeners a lot to think about, so I feel like we've explored a ton of strategies for learning new vocabulary. Everything from really understanding a word's deeper meaning to actively using it, creating those vivid associations, flashcards 2.0. We even talked about gamifying the whole process. It's almost like, we've unlocked this secret level of vocabulary learning.
I know, right? It's a lot, but it's a good kind of a lot. It feels really empowering, to have all these tools at our disposal. And I think it kind of makes you think about the bigger picture too. Like, why does all this effort even matter? Why should we care so much about expanding our vocabularies?
Yeah, that's the key question, isn't it? Like, why bother? Is it just to sound smart and impress people with fancy words? Or is there something more to it?
Right. Because the articles kind of hint at this, but I think it's worth really digging into. Like, it's not just about, sounding intelligent or eloquent. It's about something deeper.
Yeah, definitely. I think a rich vocabulary is really about like unlocking this greater clarity of thought and expression. The more words you have at your command, the more precisely you can actually articulate your ideas, your feelings, your experiences.
Yeah. It's like having this more nuanced color palette to paint with. Instead of just saying good,
Yeah.
you can choose the perfect word to convey that specific shade of good. Like maybe it's exquisite or delightful or marvelous.
Oh, I love that. That's a great analogy. And it goes beyond just, writing or speaking more effectively. Like a larger vocabulary can actually deepen your understanding of the world around you. You're able to grasp more complex ideas. You can make connections that you might have missed before.
Right. It's like you're seeing the world through this like sharper lens. Suddenly you notice details that you hadn't even seen before.
Exactly. And then on a more personal level, I think expanding your vocabulary can even have some like unexpected benefits too.
Oh, like I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Okay, well, for one, I think it can really boost your confidence. Like when you feel like you can express yourself really clearly and effectively, it naturally increases your self-assurance.
That makes sense.
Got it.
Have you ever noticed how like your vocabulary can affect how others perceive you too?
Oh, definitely. Like a strong command of language, it can convey, intelligence, credibility, even leadership qualities.
Right. It's almost like having this secret weapon, in social and professional settings. But it's not just about impressing others, though, right? I think it also has to do with this, like, self-discovery element.
I completely agree. I think as you learn new words, you're kind of forced to explore these new concepts, these new ways of thinking. It can really open up these whole new avenues of intellectual exploration.
It's like your brain is constantly making new connections, kind of expanding its capacity to really process and understand information. And it can make learning itself more enjoyable, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. Like when you have the words to describe what you're learning, to make those connections between different concepts, it just becomes so much more engaging.
Right. You're not just passively taking it in anymore. You're actively processing it. Okay, I'm officially convinced. Expanding your vocabulary is about so much more than just memorizing words. It's about becoming a better communicator, a more critical thinker, a more well-rounded individual.
Beautifully put. But let's be realistic for a moment. I can imagine some of our listeners feeling a bit overwhelmed by all the strategies we've covered, it's like, where do you even begin when there are so many options, so many words to learn? It can feel daunting.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It can be a lot to take in. But I think it's important to remember that you don't have to do everything at once.
Hmm.
Start small. Pick, one or two techniques that really resonate with you and just experiment with them.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to adjust your approach as you go along, right? Like what works for one person might not work for another. The key is just to find what feels, fun and sustainable for you.
Right. It's a journey, not a race. And I love that analogy because it really emphasizes that it's about consistency and patience. Like you wouldn't expect to just run a marathon without training, right?
No way.
Building a strong vocabulary is similar. It requires dedication and effort over time, but the rewards are so worth it.
They really are.
And speaking of rewards, I'm reminded of that challenge that the article poses. Remember where it said to, you know, pick 5 new words and try to use them in conversation that day? It's a simple challenge, but I think it's so effective.
Oh, for sure. It's a great way to actually track your progress and see those words become a natural part of your vocabulary.
I think we should issue a similar challenge to our listeners.
Ooh, I love that idea. It doesn't have to be 5 words, but maybe just choose one technique that we've discussed that really stood out to you.
Yes. Try it out for a week and see how it feels. Maybe it's, creating that vivid image for a new word or explaining it to a friend or even just, consciously making an effort to use it in a conversation.
Right. And just making that vocabulary learning a conscious part of your day, even if it's just in these small ways. And we'd love to hear about your experiences.
Oh, absolutely. Share your successes, your challenges, your aha moments. You can leave a comment on the show page.
And who knows, you might just inspire someone else to start their own vocabulary adventure.
Right. But before we all rush off to conquer the dictionary, I think it's worth taking a moment to consider this. We've been talking so much about individual words, but what about developing this deeper appreciation for language itself?
Oh, that's a great point. It's like we've been focusing on the trees, but now it's time to step back and admire the whole forest.
Right. And I think it starts with just simply paying attention.
Mm.
Really listening to the way people use language, the way words weave together to create meaning, to evoke emotions, to tell stories.
Yeah, it's about becoming a word detective, noticing the subtle nuances, the way a single word can just completely shift the tone of a sentence.
And it's about embracing the beauty of language, its rhythm, its flow, its power to kind of transport us to these different worlds and perspectives.
So as you continue on your vocabulary journey, dear listeners, remember that it's not just about memorizing definitions.
It's about cultivating a love for language, a fascination with words, this desire to really unlock the full potential of human expression.
And that's a journey worth taking, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. But before we get too carried away with our newfound love of language, I think it's time to move on to our final thoughts on this fascinating topic. Wow, I mean, we have really covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, haven't we? Everything from specific techniques for learning new words to the broader impact of expanding your vocabulary.
Yeah, it's been quite the journey for sure. And I think it really highlights the fact that language learning, it isn't just about accumulating more and more words. It's really about unlocking these new possibilities for thinking, for communicating, even for experiencing the world.
Absolutely. It's like we've been saying all along, it's so much more than just memorizing definitions. It's really about expanding your horizons in so many different ways. But as we wrap things up, I'd love to kind of leave our listeners with one final thought, something, kind of provocative, something to ponder, something that maybe sparks some further exploration. What do you think?
Okay, let me see. Well, we've talked so much about how to learn new words, right? But I'm kind of curious, what is it that sparks that initial desire to learn in the first place? What motivates someone to embark on this whole vocabulary journey to begin with?
That's a great question. I think it often stems from this innate sense of curiosity, like a desire to understand the world more deeply or to connect with others more meaningfully or to be able to express oneself more fully.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's that spark of curiosity that fuels the learning process. And it makes me think, how can we nurture that curiosity? Not just for vocabulary, but for knowledge in general?
Ooh, that's such a good point to end on. Because, yeah, it's not just about learning new words. It's really about cultivating this lifelong love of learning.
Exactly. So, dear listeners, as you continue to explore this vast and wonderful world of language, Remember to stay curious, keep questioning, never stop discovering.
And who knows, maybe along the way you'll even find like a new favorite word to describe the sheer joy of learning. Happy exploring.